The brown fox jumps over the brown log. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
I'm warming up too.
All right, here we go. Shh. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Windshield Time, the podcast where we help you use your windshield time to turn learning into earning. I'm your host, Chris Elmore, and not joining me today is Harold James Walker Jr., who normally is here, but today we have a very special guest and a very special episode of Windshield Time. I am joined today by, drumroll please, I'll let Alex fill that in, Jack Arnold from Arnold Electric in Chicago, Illinois. Is it Illinois or Illinois?
That's the silent, Chris.
You don't say the S.
That's
okay.
right.
Only if you're from outside of Illinois do you say the S. But Jack has been a great friend, and he's also a client of Service Excellence, and he's been here for, I think we were just talking about December of 2017.
Yeah, that's when I came on full time with you guys. Came down to a sales class. You guys had a business ignition series class, and I'm like, there's nothing to ignite here. I have a business already.
That's right.
And then I ended up staying, yeah.
That's awesome. You ended up staying.
Yeah, took that class too.
Yeah, like the uncle who never moves out.
That's right. Yeah.
We're going to tell you Jack's story. We're going to update you on Jack's story because we've done it before on this podcast. You have to go back a few years where we updated you on Jack. We've done a few on our previous version of this podcast over the years, so you can jump back. You just search Jack Arnold and you'll find it on servextra.com. But anyway, here we go. Let's get into it, Jack.
Let's do it, man.
So just recap. I've heard your story 100 times. You've told your story 100 times. So now, 101 times.
101 times. All right. Geez. I mean, back in 2017, I was...
Hold on. Before that,
Yeah.
tell us about Dad and how your dad, what your dad did, and then how you
Okay.
became an electrician. Give us the quick, short version of it.
Well, I'm Irish, and I can't keep a long story short, but I'll do my best, okay? Yeah, my dad was an electrician, owned his own business when I was growing up, did commercial and residential work, and he got sick of his business and liquidated it and sold it off probably when I was a sophomore or junior in high school. My brother is also an electrician and also followed my dad's footsteps, but I didn't really want to be an electrician when I grew up. I also didn't know what the heck I wanted to do after I got out of high school, and got into a summer helper program right after I got out of high school, and I was piping in new construction, production housing, and after that summer was over, I got a job as a shop kid, and then I got into a 5-year commercial electrical apprenticeship program. So topped out as a journeyman electrician in 2006, and I hated the culture there. It was horrible, and I wanted to do something different, right? So I'm like, well, go off on my own. 2008 recession hit, work dried up in the union anyways, and I'm just wanted something better and different, So, yeah, I don't know, kind of went along not knowing what the heck I was doing, good electrician, was trying to do commercial work, and then also had a lot of residential customers. But, I'd service residential customers during the day, and at night I'd come home with, blueprints under my arms, and I'd be taking off prints until 1 or 2 in the morning, and just realized that sucked too, and found you guys in 2017. At that point, I was like, I got to figure something out because this sucks. Like, just literally, 6 a.m. to 1 a.m. almost every day. And, yeah, it had to do something different. So I was ready to close the business at that point. I was 255 pounds, $250,000 in debt personally and through my business, and was just ready to shut the doors, and found you guys and took that business, the sales class, and then stayed for that business ignition class. And I just realized, I remember talking to you in the hallway, like you guys were talking about safety diagnostic checklist and the sales class. And I'm like, well, what is that? And kind of cornered you in the hall. And I'm like, if somebody calls for an outlet that's not working, how do I explain it? I need to look in their panel, right? Diagnose their panel. And you went through this thing, and it was like an aha moment right there.
I probably asked you, well, how do you know you can replace the outlet?
Yep.
Something like that. And you went, I don't know.
Yeah.
I never thought of it that way. That's what I've always loved about you, is because when somebody brings up a new thing to you, you don't automatically shut it down.
No.
Your automatic thing is, wait a minute, consider that.
Yeah.
Because I've never thought of it that way.
Yeah. Let me ask a couple more questions. And I'm asking those questions to learn about it, see how I can fit it into my business.
Yeah. And then if it becomes, you realize it's BS, you just move on. And then we don't need to think about it anymore, right?
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
But I remember that conversation because it was at the church we used to train at.
Yep.
And they had these built-in counters.
Yep.
And either I was sitting on the counter or you were sitting on the counter. I don't remember which.
You were leaning on the counter, and I was standing there talking to you.
Okay.
Yeah. And I go, well, what if a guy tells me no? And you're like, well, you're telling me, sir, that you don't want full safety and maintenance diagnostic of your entire electrical system by a licensed electrician? And I go, no. And you go, okay, you got to sign right here. And I'm like, boom. This is the information. I wish I would have known this stuff in 2008.
Yeah, and I think that was the great thing about when you came in, is you're just so curious and you're so open, and you didn't have all these reasons not to try it.
I had nothing to lose, man.
Right. And I always like you to tell, what were you going to do if you decided, nope, this isn't it, before you came and started working with us? What were you going to do if it didn't work out?
I had a buddy that was an iron worker that got laid off in 2008 too, and he got a job in the interim, was working at O'Hare Airport pumping gas in the airplanes. And he's like, yeah, after like 2 months, they made me a manager. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I could be a better manager than you. I could do that. I'm going to close my business and go work at O'Hare and pump gas in the airplanes and punch my time card in, punch my time card out, and go home and not worry about anything.
Not have to worry about anything.
Yep.
So obviously you decided to stick it out.
Yep.
Take a new path. And, it's really not about sales, but just for context, you were doing $750,000, just under $800,000 a year, and weren't making any money that I remember, scratching by. And then today, we'll fast forward, because what I want to do today is a little something different. I don't want to do a typical, then in 2018 we did this and that kind of thing, because that's been done before. I think what I'd rather see or hear from you and see from you is we're going to talk about different points along the way that stand out to you, not to me.
Yeah.
And so just for context, in December of 2017, how many employees did you have in your business?
5, 6 maybe, including me.
Yeah, let's see. I'm counting them, because I remember sitting in that little tool room, meeting room, break room, storage room that you had.
Yeah, I think it was 6, including me.
6, including you. Okay. And just under $800,000 in sales. And today, how many employees do you have?
24.
The good news is that before you struggled to count to 6, now you're struggling to count to 24.
Right.
So 24. And then what is what were your sales for 2024?
2024, we ended at like $4.75 million.
Mm-hmm. So obviously making money now, being able to put that money back into the business, and just got a great team.
Yeah, amazing team.
So you want to shout out to anybody? No,
there's 24 people.
Yeah, let's not shout out to Justin especially.
Yeah, he was the first guy that came to mind.
Yeah.
I think Mike was the only guy that was with me in 2017 that's still with me now. So
yep,
it's.
I remember Mike from back then.
Yep.
So of course, we could go the success journey. Oh, and I did this and I did that. I can tell you, I'll start at one thing, and you reminded me of this before we started recording today when we were over in the other part of the office. I do remember that now. You reminded me that I told you were the first person that I've ever worked with that went back immediately and just did everything.
Yep.
That we said, hey, these are the fundamental things you need to have in your business. You got to do that. And I worked in the franchising world before, and I have to let you in on something. There was actually one other person that did that. He opened a franchise. He already had an HVAC business in Mooresville, Indiana, and he became a franchise of the company that I was working for at the time. And he went back, and inside a month, he had every printed product, every branding, everything we told him to do. It was done. But you're like that.
Yeah.
So why did you do that? Why did you go back and just do everything?
Because just saw that it works, right? It made sense to me as a consumer. Like, if I have somebody in my house, this is what I want. This process is what would work for me. You know, this is just a whole another level of customer service. And as an electrician, I'm a really good electrician, but I sucked at talking to people, you know, and this just like the press play is like a process for you to talk to people and not, you know, you're delivering bad news, but so I'd go troubleshoot a like partial power loss in a house that was full of cloth covered wire, but I wouldn't even tell them about the cloth covered wire. I was just trying to like get the power restored. And, you know, now we don't do hardly any troubleshooting at all. We're doing troubleshooting through our maintenance and safety diagnostic checklist, but we're making recommendations to repair entire circuits or rewire entire homes. But only if it's needed. Yeah, absolutely.
And to point out, for those of you that are listening or watching and they hear, oh, we're replacing this, that, and the other. Hold on a second. What's the average age of the house you work in like you're in Chicago proper. You're not in the suburbs. You're in Chicago. What's the average age of the house you work on there?
Oh, God. 80 years old.
80 years old.
At least.
Yeah. So if you roll up on an 80-year-old house that doesn't have knob and tube or cloth-covered wire or something crazy like that, you're pinching yourself. You're like, wait a minute. They don't have this? This is not real.
Exactly right.
And so obviously a lot of opportunity for education there. Talk to me, and we're going to throw a bone to the electricians out there who think, oh, you guys only just talk about HVAC or plumbing on here. Okay, electricians, talking to you.
Yeah, let's go. Listen up.
So an observation I have, just working with electricians over the years, is it seems to me that most of the training electricians receive through the union is more commercial-based. It's more install-based.
Yeah.
Not necessarily residential troubleshooting. And I found some electricians tend to look down at residential troubleshooting a little bit, union-trained electricians. And don't think I'm going left or right on unions or anything like that, but it's just it seems that's the tendency is to be more commercial-based and less customer-facing.
That's exactly right. Yeah, and for the record, to speak on, you know, anybody that calls our shop looking for commercial work, we refer a union electrical business that I was a shop kid at, and they're equipped for it. They do it right. But I didn't find any purpose because as commercial electrician, you show up to the job, you do your electrical work, and you're not really serving anybody. I felt like, you know, so it wasn't for me. And I don't know. What was your question?
Well, that's just the observation I had.
Yeah.
And then you wanted to do more.
Yep.
And so you said, you know, press play and you're taught to talk to people. I could tell you from HVAC apprenticeship school that I did out of, 3 nights a week, 36 weeks a year, 4 years, 3 hours, 3 times a week, 36 weeks out of the year for 4 years, whatever the math is on that.
Right.
It's over 1,000 hours. We had one night on customer service.
Yeah, that's very similar to our experience. One night of customer service, one night of leadership training, and how to communicate to your team or whatever, whatever the case may be. Yeah, there was none of that. Yeah, it was all technical, code-based. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's worth talking about because, electricians kind of get that stigma a little bit more than say plumbing and HVAC do because, they do a lot more commercial work when they're being trained, I find. Now, our good buddy Jesse Olson at the Happy Outlet in Carson City, he has helped develop an awesome residential apprenticeship program in the state of Nevada.
Yeah.
And I don't know where he is with the sanctioning of that by Nevada or the union or whatever, but that's his focus is training apprentices in residential service electrical work and installations, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's good to see that, and people champion the residential service for electricians and things like that. It doesn't mean commercial union electricians are bad. That's not what we said.
No, not at all.
This is just a little bit different than that world.
That's exactly right, yeah.
Right? And I think commercial, residential, no matter what we're talking about, is different. But in your business, you went back and you just started implementing these things, and fundamentally what we do is not super advanced business tactics or trade tactics or anything like that. It's you weren't flat rate pricing.
Right.
But we put together, I remember you worked, I gave you the framework and you worked on the details of that flat rate pricing guide that you put together.
Yeah, completely custom made.
Yeah. And then you were able to import that into the software you later started using.
That's exactly right.
And so you'd done all the homework on that. That was just an import. It wasn't like a bunch of work. So you'd done that. And we did have a little bit of modeling on that, but you really did a great job putting all that stuff together. So it was that, and then I think one of the other things you did was instituted immediately options-based pricing.
Yep.
It's like you were talking about, you'd go into a house with partial power loss, they got cloth cover wire, you weren't even talking about it, you were just fixing the problem.
Oh, yeah. I remember I'd give an estimate for like $1,500, and it would just kind of like there'd be bullet points of the tasks that were required to get the system working the way that they needed it to. And, well, do we need that? And, do we need, well, yeah, you need all of that. And then, well, the price. And so let's say it was a $1,200 job. Mm-hmm. I'd say, all right, I'll tell you what, I'll take $200 off of it. We'll make it an even $1,000. And just to kind of like, I get the job, right? Like, obviously something was going on with the way I was doing the estimates that was getting people to like say, can you take this off? And I felt like I needed to know, but I'll reduce the price a little bit to get the job, right? Mm-hmm. And the options was total game changer because okay, I can take that off, but let's just look at this other option, It's like when you go to the grocery store with a $100 budget, it rings up at $110. You don't negotiate with the cashier. You take some things off.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way to say it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of those things where, especially with electrical, and Jesse and I, around the fire pit, but also on management calls and just random phone calls, we have this ongoing conversation over the years about building options as an electrician and how much different it is when you have the code items on there too.
Yeah.
Especially smoke detectors, those kind of things that, when you're in the, plumbing, HVAC or other trades, you really don't have that kind of regulatory, it's not regulatory oversight, but that kind of more codified, official thing to point to, like electrical code.
Yeah, and smoke detectors is a great example, right? Like everybody knows about smoke detectors. Smoke detectors save lives. It is a code thing, and we try not to be like code cops, but there's certain things that you bring up and associate it with the code that makes sense to a homeowner.
Yeah, and I think you could probably plumbers out there that are listening can relate to code requirements when a water heater's replaced. When things are upgraded, remodels, things like that, especially if permits have to be pulled on those kind of things. And I think with electrical, a permit has to be pulled most of the time.
Yep.
With plumbing a lot of the time, HVAC a lot of the time. And I think navigating that in an options pricing system really takes some training and some work. And I think you guys, you've worked hard on that. I know Jesse and we work with a lot of electricians who work hard on that because it's nothing, especially in an 80-year-old house, to go in and they need $15,000 worth of work.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Easily.
Yep. And they called you to hang a ceiling fan.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And you have to navigate that. But yeah, you grasped that and just ran with it.
100%.
Yeah, and then obviously implementing the technician training, and then you mentioned the diagnostic checklist, which is, and I've said it on this podcast many, many, many times. If you are not using a color-coded diagnostic checklist, you are losing money. You're leaving money on the table. And I'm not just talking to you as a business owner. I'm talking to you as a technician who might be performance-based pay or commission-based pay, whatever. You are leaving money on the table if you're not using one of those things.
Yeah, Nick, who's with iConduit, he's in the what program?
He's in the Kings of the Mar program. Nick Braun,
Yeah, Nick Braun. He came into our office probably like a year ago, and I was showing him what we were doing, and I showed him the safety diagnostic checklist, and he talked to me like we were texting like a couple days later. He goes, I told my wife we need to start implementing this right now. You know, he just saw the value in it. And
absolutely, and just a communication tool and all that. And anybody who's listened to this podcast knows that that's probably one of my number one things. If you want to get better technically, fill out a checklist. Yeah. Because what will happen is you'll fill out that checklist, and when you call for technical support, you've earned the right to call whoever you're calling for assistance because you're going to have all the information they ask for. And guess what? You do that enough, you're going to start learning before you call. That's one way. That's self-serving for the technician out there. The other way is when you do the checklist, it helps you translate your technical ability into customer language because they see the color codes and they can everybody understands red, yellow, green at some level.
Yeah.
And if you further define it for them, like you're supposed to do in the beginning, it's such a wonderful tool that not only helps with the customer, but it can also help you as a technician too. But yeah, you did all those things. And so that was, to me, what I want to ask you about some other points like that. So you reminded me of that one, but what are some of, we just had Roy Williams here, and he was talking to us, and he had first met you, and you're telling him your story. And Todd mentioned, well, Jack was going to pump gas at the airport, and he decided not to. And Roy, I heard through the wall, because the wall's around here. I heard the wall. He's like, that was an inflection point for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was December 2017, early 2017. What are some other inflection points you found in your business over there that caused you to have that similar, I never thought about it that way. I'm gonna do that. Can you think of any?
Well, definitely. This isn't whoever's listening. This isn't like a sales pitch for Service Excellence or anything, but
it's called Windshield Time. It's sponsored by Service Excellence. I work for Service Excellence.
But one of them was bringing you guys on full time in making that decision. I mean, I understood that the information was exactly what we needed. I understood it so much that I doubled down and gambled on myself. I took money out of my home equity line of credit to get it done, knowing that this is going to help my business. I didn't know that. I've repaid myself since then.
I'd say handsomely.
Yeah.
I'd say handsomely. Yeah. So that was one, obviously. Yeah. Okay. So we're talking early 2017, then we start fast forwarding, and we can chart your growth because we have all the numbers for it. And I think you doubled your business. You more than doubled your business in 3 years. Okay, that was always the target, that first 3 years. So 2017 to 2020, I think your business doubled.
Well, 2017, by the end of 2018, I doubled what we did in 2018.
That's right, you did. So
30% growth, between 30 and 40% growth every year since then, except 1 year.
Yeah, and that's going to get you around 27% a year, gets you double in 3 years from when you started. So what are some of the other things that you remember you said, okay, I'm going to make this decision, and it was similar to that. Maybe you didn't hit your line of credit, but you knew this is a risk I'm taking, but I think it's an investment risk. It's not like hey, the Gatorade's going to be yellow when they dump it on the coach at the end of the Super Bowl risk, right? That kind of thing. So what are some others that you had?
I've switched marketing companies 2 or 3 times. That's always a difficult change for me mentally, because I value marketing so much in Arnold Electric, and it always makes me nervous. Makes me nervous, like going through, because I don't know anything about technology, so it makes me nervous. But every marketing company that I've hired has been one of those points, right? And that I am a client of Wizard of Ads now, and I remember going through that conversation with Ryan Shute on the phone. Literally, in the first 5 minutes of about an hour conversation, I knew, that this is what Arnold Electric
You're
needed.
going to do it.
I'm doing it, man. Like, and I didn't borrow from I didn't borrow from a line of credit, my home equity line of credit. We cash flowed it, and it's paying dividends, and just a couple of those times like that were, I'd say those are the main big ones where I've like, all right, I'm going to double down and gamble on and it's not really a gamble because it's like, I know what I'm doing now.
That's
easier to make that decision.
And I tell you probably too much, but you're just a different guy than you were. I mean, I'd like to think everybody becomes different. They grow and all that kind of stuff, but your growth from the guy that was standing there asking me all the dumb questions at training,
yeah,
is just it's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable, and what now and what you can do then now that you couldn't do before.
Yeah.
And that's not me or Service Excellence taking credit for it. We just happen to be part of the journey.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I would texted you that the other day, right? Like, so for those of you that are listening, I was hanging out with a really good friend of mine in Dallas, and he got out of corporate America, was like regional or North American marketing director for a large name brand company, MBA, his MBA college graduate, and he got out of that and he started his own real estate business, and they have like an Airbnb, like glam camping spot in Oklahoma. And we were sitting out having dinner the other night, and he's kind of new to this and owning his own business, and he was asking me about like, all these guys I work with do this, that, and the other to, I don't know, make money and stuff like that. And so we just started talking about depreciation, and I was explaining to him how a profit and loss statement is laid out and stuff like that. And he paid me a really, really nice compliment. He's like, I'm so impressed, Arnold. Like, I got an MBA and I don't even know half of this crap, you know, and felt really good. So, yeah, it was cool.
Awesome.
It was a really cool moment to be able to share that with my buddy.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah.
Talk about, because typically we're talking about in-home sales and service and those kind of things. And I don't think it would be wrong to say that the success you've ran with and the tools that we've given you over the years that you've taken and ran with, you had to do all the hard work, right?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
But I think the leveling up of your in-home sales and service process and what your people do in the home has been a big part of your growth. Now, obviously, marketing strategy, those kind of things. And I want to get back to what I was saying before, these inflection points, and I want to talk more about that, but the inflection point would be, I never thought of it that way. I'm going to try that.
Yeah.
Right? Just like we were talking about the checklist and what if they tell me no and doing options and all that. These are things you're like, I never thought of that, but it makes sense.
Yep.
And you mentioned, changing marketing companies and Wizards who you're with now. And in that conversation with Ryan, 5 minutes in, you knew I'm going to do this. And I think that's what you experienced when we were talking about just even something as simple as a checklist, because you've had to take a leap with this because they don't do typical stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I think if you look back in 2017, Service Excellence doesn't teach typical stuff, right? And so this isn't the typical thing. I think that fits your personality, though, because I think that's who you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. As if anybody's looking at you right now on the video. But so in terms of Jack Arnold's journey through what you've been through, let's talk about your people.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't want to talk about your people from obviously you got a great team of people. How important do you feel is that all the stuff you were changing in your business, how important do you feel that it was that you did that with them or first? Like things like checklist, options, flat rate pricing, selling memberships, because you didn't have memberships either.
No, we didn't.
So how important was it? Was it important at all that you did it first in the beginning? Or do you feel it would have been the same if you just said, hey, guys, go do this?
I guess I don't understand. Yeah, I mean, super important that we started that off.
No, what I'm saying is you actually going out and using a checklist in a home, going out and using flat rate in a home, going out, you personally.
Oh, me personally.
Going out and doing options. How important was that in the beginning that you did it yourself?
It was extremely important because it was like I understood it so well and was able to prove and show everybody at Arnold Electric, like, this actually works. We follow the process.
That's right.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, kind of talking about that checklist, right? Like, it's a third-party credibility process. You go into the home, people see that, and they're like, oh, okay. Like, we've had people say, like, well, we had one other guy out here stand in our basement and say, yeah, not sure how long this is going to take, but probably $15,000 to $20,000 is going to cost to rewire your home. We're giving them an exact price that doesn't change at all.
Right.
And yeah, just me going out there and doing it was huge. As I've delegated these tasks, or Arnold Electric has, to our team members, this is the way we do it. This is the Arnold Electric way. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, we get calls from like property management companies, and for a while we were just kind of doing it the old way. I mean, this is like 2018, 2019. A couple of our salespeople were just going out, giving one option. Well, it's, property management company, and I'm like, well, I don't really care if they're a property management company or not. We're going to follow our process because this is, documentation there's so many things that ties into, right? Like, our CSRs can open our CRM and see the safety diagnostic checklist, and it's like a CYA, and it's a more comprehensive way to give an estimate.
Right.
It's that was the thing about it. So when that situation came up where it's like, okay, we can see that one or two of our salespeople aren't doing the safe diagnostic checklist on these, property management jobs. It was easy to troubleshoot and say, okay, this is what we need to start doing. Like, we do this on every call,
And so, but you feel like, okay, you've been there, done that. It's a lot easier to do that. Now, that doesn't mean you can't implement these things if you're a manager who's not in the field anymore.
Yeah.
So in terms of your people, when you look across the landscape now of if you're going to hire an electrician today, right, a residential electrician, is that difficult for you to do these days?
No. We hear people all the time, it's so hard to find good help. That's not true at all. I don't.
Do you feel like you have to compromise on technical ability to find someone?
No.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, and I kind of knew you would say that, but so what I find is when people start looking for technicians, and the technicians out there right now that are listening to us that are saying, oh, well, Jack's an owner, so he's going to do all this stuff because he's an owner. Talk about how and what you've seen with people you've brought in who are coming from a place where they didn't do things like checklist or options or flat rate pricing. There wasn't a lot of customer communication. Do you find that once you open their eyes, they're receptive to it?
Oh my God. It's like, we have Tony Wilburn. Man, he's one of our sellers and doers, our hybrid technicians, we call them. And he came from a company in Chicago, very similar to what we do, not as big or whatever, but no processes. And it's kind of like the way Arnold Electric used to do it.
Right.
And he loves it, you know, and he's doing really good at it. Was brought on another gentleman from Harvard, Brian. And
Not the school, the city.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Harvard, Illinois, yes.
Gotcha.
Yellow and gold, or black and gold, not crimson.
Okay.
For
Gotcha.
the Harvard Hornets. But he's never seen anything like that. And he came from a commercial generator company and has had other career paths and home service industries and stuff like that. And, you know, when we hired him for the first month, I training with him like 3 days a week, give him a high level overview of all these processes and how we talk to customers and, you know, high level, like how long does these parts and the, you know, your panel's got a lifespan, your wire has a lifespan, certain devices have a different safe operating lifespan, you know, just all this high level overview stuff. And you just see his mind was like blown just at like what a great process this is. And holy smokes, you know, you offer a 5-year warranty and you're doing this. This is the way to do it. Like it made complete sense to him.
Right.
And the guy is like a killer mechanic, right?
Yeah.
And
That's awesome.
yeah, it was. It was
That's good.
yeah.
I hadn't heard that story about Tony yet. Well, what would you say, because I got 2 more things for you. What would you say to the technician out there who is resistant to making changes and doing the things they hear on the Windshield Time podcast? What would you say to that both as a technician and as a business owner? I mean, what would you say to them?
I would say you don't have anything to lose to try it. We'll try things that aren't electric and like, okay, if somebody has an idea of to try to do something a little bit better, all right, we'll either run both things in parallel or we'll say, okay, we're going to change it. We're going to do it like this for 2 weeks and we're going to see how successful it was.
Yeah.
You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. And I don't know why you wouldn't start implementing this stuff immediately.
Yeah.
It'd be crazy not to.
And what would you say to owners out there who might be a little resistant to wanting their people to make these changes?
I'd say the exact same thing, I
The
guess.
same thing,
you know?
exactly.
Like it's just, what are you waiting for?
Yeah. That's good. Talk here at the end. Talk to the owner-operator out there that is the Jack Arnold of 2017. What would you say to them right now? What would you, and forget it's not a service excellence podcast or anything like that. What would be the 1 or 2 pieces of advice you'd give them as owner operators right now? You know, they're under that $1 million. Maybe they got a couple of 3-4 people working for them. What would you say to them that would give them hope or inspiration to do what you've done?
Well, let's see here. I mean,
never seen you speechless before.
I know.
I know
I was going
there's
somewhere
so
with
much.
I know I was going somewhere with it in my mind, and you're probably time and material company, probably not a flat rate company, and you're shortchanging yourself by not. You're really good at what you do, and people aren't supposed to be paying you for your time. They're supposed to be paying you for your knowledge, and you're not accounting for that by not doing flat rate pricing, by not offering options. You're not being as great of a company, and you're not serving your customers as well as you can be if you're not giving options, doing the safety diagnostic and maintenance checklist, and doing flat rate. So you're kind of hurting your own business, and you're not making as great of relationships with your clients as you can be. You start doing this stuff, you're going to be amazed at how well things turn around for you.
And I love that answer. You know why? Because you could say, if you're a technician out there, if you're a business owner out there, you could put that they're interchangeable. Everything you just said is to either or.
Yep.
And both.
Yep.
Right? So, what do you want people to know about Jack Arnold and Arnold Electric before we sign off here?
I don't know. I guess
No Boy Scout stuff?
That's one of our. I just wrote like an 18-page. What was it? 20-page.
Yeah.
Success plan for the next 3 years or something like that.
That was your vision.
Yeah.
Your manifesto.
Yeah. Exactly. Pretty much. Yeah. And I'm an Eagle Scout, and that's one of mine and my wife's guiding principles is Scout law, Scout oath will always be a guiding principle for Arnold Electric, and we plan on. My wife and I did a little deep thinking and had some clarity, sessions, and decided that we're gonna have this business be around 100 years or more, long after we're gone. Create some generational wealth and leave something for my kids, and then we got a lot of like Derek's son Brady is a licensed electrician working 20-year-old licensed electrician.
He's here in training right now.
him Brian, who I was talking about, and Chris are all three of them are down here training right now, and Brian's got 2 young boys. Mike's got a young boy, a son, and Jeff's stepson works for us, and
You want it to be multi-generational.
Multi-generational, not just for my family, but for everybody's family.
That's awesome.
Come here, work here, and help build something for your future people. You
like
know?
it.
Yeah.
Wow, we meandered through that.
That was awesome.
No, it's good stuff. So, if you want to know more about Jack and you want to hear more about, in the earlier days with us and Jack, go to www.servextra.com. That's servextra.com. And you can find my information on the website. If you want to get in touch with Jack, you want to give out anything so people get in touch with you? Email address, something like that?
Sure. Jack at ArnoldElectricChicago.com.
And if you can't spell all that, you don't deserve to talk to him.
That's right. It's all one word. And Chris heard me yelling at somebody on the phone. No, there's a C at the end of electric and beginning of Chicago. So
there's 2 C's.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, my friend. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, buddy.
All right,
appreciate
take care.
you.
Yeah. See you guys.
See you guys.